Captain Taemin Park checked his ship's controls one more time. Everything looked normal. The small scout ship moved quietly through space toward the planet below. His mission was simple: check if humans were really trapped on Kepler 442c and needed help. The distress signal had come 3 days ago. It said human miners were stuck on the planet and running out of food. Earth Command sent their best scout to check it out. That scout was Taemin. He was 32 years old and had fought in many battles. His black hair was cut short, and his dark eyes missed nothing. Scars on his hands told stories of fights with alien pirates and space raiders, but this mission felt different. Something was wrong. "Computer, scan the planet again," Taemin said. "Scanning complete. No human life signs detected," the computer replied in its flat voice. Taemin frowned. If there were no humans, who sent the distress call? His finger moved to the weapon controls, but it was too late. Red lights flashed across his control panel. "Warning! Enemy lock-on detected!" the computer shouted. Taemin's ship shook as energy beams hit it from all sides. Hidden weapon platforms rose from the planet's surface like metal flowers blooming in the sun. They had been waiting for him. "It's a trap," he said to himself, but his voice stayed calm. The ship's engines died. The lights went out. Emergency. Power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Taemin strapped himself in as his ship fell toward the planet like a stone. The ground rushed up fast. Taemin pulled the controls hard, trying to find somewhere safe to crash. There, a narrow canyon between tall rocks. It was not perfect, but it would have to do. His ship hit the ground hard. Metal screamed against rock. Sparks flew everywhere. The ship rolled 3 times before stopping upside down. Taemin hung in his seat, blood running from a cut on his forehead. But he was alive. He had crashed before and lived. He would do it again. He grabbed his rifle and sidearm. His combat knife went on his belt. A small medical kit and emergency food went in his pockets. Everything else was either broken or too heavy to carry. The ship's door was stuck. Taemin kicked it 3 times before it opened with a loud bang. He rolled out and took cover behind a large rock. The canyon was quiet. Too quiet. Taemin wiped the blood from his eyes and looked around. The canyon walls were high and steep. Red rock stretched up toward a purple sky. 2 suns hung overhead, making everything look like it was on fire. His ship was a smoking wreck. Black smoke rose from the engines. At least the fuel had not exploded. That was something. A sound echoed through the canyon, then another. Footsteps, lots of them. Taemin pressed himself against the rock and waited. The footsteps got louder. Whatever was coming, there were many of them. The first alien appeared at the canyon's mouth. Then 10 more, then 100. They kept coming until the canyon entrance was full of them. They were called Valak. Taemin had seen pictures in military reports, but never one in person. They looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. Their skin was dark green with yellow spots. Sharp teeth filled their mouths. Each one carried a plasma rifle that glowed blue in the dim light. But it was not just 100. More kept coming. They poured into the canyon like water from a broken dam. Soon there were thousands of them. The canyon floor was covered with green bodies and blue weapons. Taemin counted quickly. His military training kicked in. 5,000, 7,000, 9,000. The numbers kept growing until he stopped counting at 10,000. 10,000 alien warriors. All here for him. A large Valak stepped forward. This one was bigger than the others. Gold marks covered his arms and chest. A leader. "Human," the alien called out in broken English. "We know you are here. Come out and we will make your death quick." Taemin stayed hidden. His mind raced through options. Fight? There were too many. Run? The canyon walls were too high to climb. Hide? They would find him soon enough. "My name is War Commander Vextar," the leader continued. "You have fallen into our trap. Your people sent a distress call, but it was us. We wanted to catch one of you alone." The other Valak made hissing sounds. Taemin realized they were laughing. "We have heard stories about human warriors," Vextar shouted. "They say you are dangerous, they say you are hard to kill, but we do not believe such stories. You are small and weak. You have no claws, no thick skin, no poison." More hissing laughter from the crowd. Tae-min checked his rifle. 30 bullets. His sidearm had 12 more. 42 shots total. 10,000 enemies. The math was not good. But he remembered something his old teacher, Master Dong-hyun Kim, used to say. Numbers mean nothing if they cannot all attack you at once. The canyon was narrow, maybe 50 meters wide. The Valak could not spread out. They would have to come at him in waves. "We will make this sporting," Vextar announced. "We will not shoot you from far away. We will come at you with claws and teeth. You will see what real warriors can do." Taemin almost smiled. These aliens had never fought a human before. They thought this would be easy. They thought he would panic and run around screaming. They were very wrong. He took a deep breath and stepped out from behind the rock. 10,000 alien eyes turned to look at him. One human, alone, bleeding, armed with just a rifle and a few bullets. Tae-min stood straight and looked back at them. His voice carried clearly across the canyon. "You want to see what a real warrior can do?" he called out. "Then come and find out." The silence that followed was complete. Even the wind seemed to stop blowing. Then Vextar raised his weapon and roared. The battle was about to begin. War Commander Vextar pointed at Taemin with one clawed finger. His yellow eyes burned with anger. "You dare to challenge us?" he hissed. "One small human against the might of the Valak Empire?" Taemin said nothing. He just watched and waited. His rifle felt light in his hands. His breathing stayed calm and steady. "First wave," Vextar roared. 1,000 warriors. Show this human what happens to those who mock us." The canyon filled with hissing sounds as 1,000 Valak moved forward. They spread out as much as the narrow space allowed. Plasma rifles glowed blue in their hands. Sharp claws clicked against the rocky ground. Taemin backed up slowly. Behind him, pieces of his crashed ship lay scattered across the canyon floor. Metal plates, broken pipes, and torn cables were everywhere. To most people, it looked like junk. To Taemin, it looked like weapons waiting to be used. The first Valak warrior charged at him with a loud scream. It was fast, but not fast enough. Taemin's rifle cracked once. The alien fell with a hole through its chest. 2 more came from the left. Taemin rolled behind a large piece of his ship's engine. Plasma bolts hit the metal and made it glow red. Hot. He popped up and fired twice. 2 more Valak dropped. "Spread out!" a Valak officer shouted. "Surround him!" But the canyon was too narrow. The Valak got in each other's way. They bumped into each other and tripped over rocks. Some, accidentally, shot their own friends when Taemin ducked at the right moment. Taemin moved like water through the wreckage. He used every piece of cover. A broken wing here, a torn-off door there. Each time the Valak thought they had him trapped, he was somewhere else. His rifle spoke again and again. Each shot found its target. The Valak were big and easy to hit. They moved in straight lines and never tried to hide. After 10 minutes, 50 Valak were dead. Taemin had used only 30 bullets. "Impossible," Vextar snarled. "How can one human fight so well?" An old Valak warrior next to him shook his scaled head. "Commander, maybe the stories are true. Maybe humans are more dangerous than we thought." "Silence," Vextar snapped. "They are just animals. Keep attacking." Taemin's rifle clicked empty. He dropped it and pulled out his sidearm. The small pistol looked like a toy compared to the alien plasma rifles. 5 Valak saw their chance and rushed him, at once. Taemin grabbed a sharp piece of metal from the ground. He threw it like a spear. It went through the first alien's throat. His pistol barked 4 times. The other 4 Valak fell down and did not get up. The remaining Valak in the first wave stopped moving forward. Fear crept into their yellow eyes. "What are you waiting for?" Vexitar screamed. "Kill him!" But something had changed. The Valak looked at the bodies of their friends scattered around Taemin. They looked at the human, who was not even breathing hard. Some of them started to back away. Taemin picked up a fallen Valak plasma rifle. The weapon was heavy and built for larger hands. but he figured out how to use it in seconds. Human brains were good at learning new things quickly. The plasma rifle hummed in his hands. He fired a test shot at a rock. The stone exploded into dust. "Now we're talking," he said quietly. A group of 20 Valak tried to rush him from the right side. Taimin had been waiting for this. He fired the plasma rifle into the canyon wall above them. Rocks fell like rain. Half the attacking Valak were crushed. The others ran back to their friends. "Cowards!" Vextar roared. "I will kill you myself if you do not fight." But his threats did not work as well as before. The Valak had seen something they did not understand. How could one small human be so deadly? Taimin remembered his training with Master Donghyun Kim back on Earth. The old man had taught him that every fight was a puzzle to solve. "Look for patterns," the master had said. "Enemies always repeat what they do. Find the pattern, and you find the weakness." The Valak pattern was simple. They charged forward in straight lines. They never tried to trick him or use smart tactics. They just relied on having more fighters. But Lieutenant Hai Jin Lee had taught him something else at War College. "Use the enemy's strength against them," she had said. "Make their numbers work. For you, not against you." Taimin looked at the narrow canyon walls. An idea formed in his mind. He picked up another piece of ship wreckage. This one had sharp edges and was heavy enough to throw hard. He also grabbed some cables from his ship's computer system. The next wave of Valak came forward more carefully. They had learned that charging straight at the human was a bad idea. Taimin let them get close. Then he threw the metal piece at the canyon wall. At the same time, he shot the plasma rifle at the same spot. The wall cracked. Small rocks started to fall. "He's trying to cause a rock slide," a smart Valak shouted. "Stop him." But it was too late. Taimin fired 3 more shots at the cracked wall. A section of rock the size of a house broke free and crashed down. 20 more Valak disappeared under the falling stones. The survivors looked up at the canyon walls with new fear. If the human could bring down the rocks, nowhere was safe. "Fall back," some of them yelled. "This is not a battle, it's a trap." "No retreat!" Vextar screamed. He shot one of his own warriors who tried to run. "We finish this now." But doubt had entered the minds of his soldiers. They had started this fight thinking it would be easy fun. Hunt down one scared human and collect the glory. Instead, they were the ones being hunted. Of the first 1,000 Valak warriors, only 300 were still alive. Bodies in green armor lay everywhere. The canyon floor was painted with alien blood. And the human? He stood among the wreckage, calm as still water. His clothes were torn and dirty, but he was not even hurt badly. In his hands, he held 2 plasma rifles now, one taken from each side of the battlefield. Taimin looked up at the remaining 9,000 Valak warriors waiting their turn. "Next," he called out in a steady voice. The word echoed off the canyon walls like thunder. Vextar stared at the bodies of his warriors scattered across the canyon floor. 700 dead in the first attack. This was not supposed to happen. "Send 3,000 this time," he ordered his second in command. "Overwhelm him with numbers." The younger Valak officer's scales turned pale. "Commander, perhaps we should call for air support. Bomb the canyon from above." "No." Vextar's claws scraped against his weapon. "We will not run from one small human. We are Valak. We are warriors." But as the second wave moved forward, doubt crept through their ranks. The smart ones had seen what happened to the first group. The human was not like the prey they usually hunted. Taimin watched them come. 3,000 this time. Better odds than 10,000, but still not good. He needed to think smarter, not just fight harder. He looked around at the wreckage of his ship. The fuel cells were cracked but not empty. The navigation computer was broken, but still had power. The emergency beacon was crushed, but its battery was good. An idea formed in his mind. His friend Jiho Nam had died on Proxima Station when aliens overran their position. But before he died, Jiho had taught him something important about electronics. "Everything with power can be turned into a weapon," Jiho had said. "You just need to know how to make it explode." Taimin pulled cables from his ship's computer. He connected them to the fuel cells in a pattern Jiho had shown him. Then he added the battery from the emergency beacon. The Valak were getting closer. Their plasma rifles glowed in the dim light of the canyon. This group moved more carefully than the first. They used the rocks for cover and tried to surround him. But they still made the same mistake. They all came from the same direction. Taman finished his work and stepped back. He had turned part of his ship into a bomb. Not a big one, but big enough. "There he is," a Valak warrior shouted. "Behind the engine block." 50 aliens rushed toward his position. Taman waited until they were close. Then he shot his plasma rifle at the cables he had set up. The explosion lit up the canyon like a second sun. The sound was louder than thunder. Pieces of metal flew everywhere like deadly rain. When the smoke cleared, the 50 Valak were gone. In their place was a crater in the canyon floor. The other aliens stopped moving. They stared at the smoking hole where their friends had been. "How did he do that?" one of them whispered. "He turned the wreckage into a weapon," another said. "How can humans learn so fast?" Taman did not wait for them to figure it out. While they were confused, he moved to a new position. He grabbed more alien plasma rifles from the dead. Now he had 4 weapons, one for each direction. The Valak tried to be smart this time. They split into 4 groups and attacked from all sides at once. It was a good plan. It would have worked against most enemies. But Taman was not most enemies. He was human. Master So Young Park had taught him battlefield meditation back on Earth. "Control your fear," she had said. "Fear makes you stupid, calm makes you deadly." Taman's breathing slowed. His heart rate dropped. Time seemed to move slower around him. He could see the pattern of the attack before it happened. The Valak on his left moved faster than the others. They would reach him first. The group on. His right was being careful, checking every rock. They would be last. The ones in front were brave but clumsy. The ones behind him were the smartest. He spun and fired at the group behind him first. They had expected him to focus on the obvious threats. 3 aliens fell before they could react. Then he rolled left and shot the fast-moving group. His plasma rifle cut through them like fire through paper. The group in front charged when they saw him roll. Taman had been waiting for this. He fired. His second plasma rifle at the canyon wall above them. More rocks fell. More aliens died. The careful group on his right finally arrived. There were only 12 of them left, but they were the smartest ones. They spread out and tried to pin him down with covering fire. Taman smiled. These ones were thinking like soldiers instead of hunters. But they still did not understand what they were fighting. He picked up a broken piece of alien armor from the ground. It was thick and heavy. He threw it at the nearest Valak warrior. The alien ducked, just like Taman knew he would. While the alien was ducking, Taman shot him with his third plasma rifle. The remaining 11 Valak looked at each other. They had seen their careful plan fall apart in seconds. The human had not just beaten them with weapons, he had outthought them. "Retreat!" their leader shouted. "Fall back to the main force." But Taman did not let them run. He followed them, picking them off one by one as they tried to escape. His human endurance let him keep moving when the Valak started to tire. By the time the survivors reached the main group, only 3 were left alive. Vexitar looked at the 3 scared warriors. "Where are the others?" "Dead, Commander." One of them gasped. "All dead. The human, he fights like a demon. He sees everything. He knows what we will do before we do it." "Impossible," Vexitar snarled. But he could see the truth in their eyes. An old Valak advisor stepped forward. "Commander, we have lost 4,000 warriors. Maybe we should..." "We should what?" Vexitar's voice was dangerous. "Run from one human? Shame our ancestors? Disgrace the Empire?" The advisor's scales turned gray with fear. "No, Commander. I only meant..." "You meant to be a coward." Vexitar shot the old Valak where he stood. "Anyone else want to suggest retreat?" The remaining 6,000 Valak warriors said nothing, but fear was spreading through their ranks like poison. They looked down at the human in the canyon. He was checking his weapons and gathering more ammunition from the dead. His movements were calm and sure. He looked like he could fight for hours, more. Some of the younger Valak began to whisper among themselves. What kind of creature was this human? How could one being kill so many? The stories they had heard about human warriors were starting to make sense, but by now it was too late to turn back. Taman looked up at the remaining aliens. 6,000 left. The real battle was just beginning. He thought about his training, his friends, and his duty. Then he picked up a fresh plasma rifle and smiled. "Come on then," he called out. "Let's finish this." War Commander Vextar looked at his remaining 6,000 warriors. Half of his force was dead, killed by one human. The shame burned in his chest like acid. "All units," he roared. "Final assault. Everyone attacks at once. I will lead from the front." The Valak warriors looked at each other with fear in their yellow eyes. But they were more afraid of their commander than of the human. They would follow orders even if it meant death. Vextar raised his plasma rifle above his head. "For the Empire, for our honor, kill the human." 6,000 voices answered with a battle cry that shook the canyon walls. The sound echoed like thunder in the narrow space. They came like a green tide flowing over rocks and wreckage. This time there was no plan, no tactics, just raw numbers and desperate fury. Taman watched them come, 6,000 aliens all wanting to kill him. Most people would have been afraid. Most people would have given up. But Taimin was not most people. He was human. He thought about his partner, Dr. Yanwu Han, waiting for him back on Earth. She had been worried about this mission. "Be careful," she had said. "Come home to me." He planned to keep that promise. Taman looked at his ship's broken reactor. It was cracked and leaking, but still had power. His friend Minho Kang from demolition school had taught him about reactor cores. "Never let them overload," Minho had warned. "But if you have no choice, you can turn one into the biggest bomb you ever saw." Timon smiled. Minho had been right about a lot of things. He pulled out cables from the reactor housing. The radiation meter on his belt started clicking faster. Dangerous, but he could work for a few minutes before it became deadly. The Valak were getting closer. 500 meters, 400, 300. Taman's fingers worked quickly on the reactor controls. He bypassed the safety systems and overrode the cooling circuits. The reactor core began to glow brighter. 200 meters. The first plasma bolts started hitting the rocks around him. He set the timer for 30 seconds and ran. Behind him, the reactor made a high whining sound as it built up power. The Valak heard it too, but they did not understand what it meant. Timon dove behind the largest piece of wreckage he could find, a thick section of his ship's armor plating. He pressed himself against it and waited. The whining got louder, then stopped. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then the world exploded. The reactor blast was like a small sun being born inside the canyon. White light filled every corner. The sound was beyond hearing. It went straight through bone and into the soul. The canyon walls cracked. Rocks the size of buildings fell from above. The ground shook like an earthquake. When the light faded and the dust settled, half the canyon was gone. A new crater marked where the reactor had been. Of the 6,000 charging Valak, less than 3,000 remained, but they were still coming. Vextar pulled himself out from under a fallen rock. Green blood ran from cuts on his face. His beautiful gold armor was cracked and dirty. "Still alive, human?" he called out. "Good, I want to kill you with my own claws." Taman stood up from behind his cover. The explosion had thrown him 10 meters, but his armor had protected him. He hurt all over, but he could still fight. "Just you and me then," Taman said. He dropped his plasma rifle and drew his combat knife. "Let's finish this properly." Vextar's eyes widened. The human was challenging him to single combat. After everything that had happened, the small creature still had courage. "You have spirit," Vextar admitted. "I will make your death honorable." The two warriors circled each other in the smoking ruins. Around them, the surviving Valak formed, a ring to watch. This was how their ancient laws said such things should end. Leader against leader. Warrior against warrior. Vextar was bigger, stronger, and had natural weapons. His claws could cut through metal. His teeth could bite through bone. His thick hide could stop most blades. But Taemin had something the alien did not. He had been trained by the best warriors Earth could produce, and he was fighting for more than just pride. Vextar struck first. His claws swept toward Taemin's throat in a killing blow. Taemin was not there when the claws arrived. He had moved like water flowing around the attack. His knife found the gap in Vextar's armor under his arm. Green blood flowed, but the wound was not deep enough. Vexitar spun and tried to grab the human with both hands. Again, Taemin was somewhere else, behind the alien this time. His knife cut across the back of Vextar's leg, slicing through muscle. The alien commander roared in pain and anger. He had never fought anything so fast and clever. "Stand still and die," Vextar screamed. "No," Taemin said simply. They fought among the wreckage for 10 minutes. Vextar's strength was fading as he lost blood from dozens of small cuts. Taemin stayed just out of reach, striking when he could, dodging when he had to. Finally, Vexitar made a mistake. He put all his power into one last, desperate attack. His claws swept down toward Taemin's head. Taemin stepped inside the attack. The claws passed over his head as he drove his knife up under Vextar's chin. The blade found the alien's brain. Vextar's yellow eyes went wide, then empty. He fell backward and did not move again. Silence filled the canyon. The surviving Valak stared at their dead commander. Then they looked at the human standing over him. One small creature had destroyed their entire army. "Retreat," whispered one of the aliens. "Tell the fleet to retreat." "But the invasion," another started to say. "Is over," the first one finished. "If one human can do this, what could 1,000,000 of them do?" The remaining Valak turned and ran. They left their weapons, their honor, and their dead behind. All they wanted was to get away from the nightmare in the canyon. Taemin watched them go. He was tired, hurt, and alone. But he was alive. He activated his emergency beacon. Help would come eventually. Until then, he sat down among the wreckage and waited. 3 hours later, a rescue ship found him. Admiral Sujin Lee herself came down to pick him up. "Captain Park," she said as the medics checked his wounds. "Your mission report, please." Taemin looked back at the canyon full of alien bodies. "Mission accomplished, Admiral. 10,000 problems solved." The story spread quickly through Earth's fleet, then to the colonies, then to other alien races who had been thinking about challenging humanity. The Valak Empire asked for peace, the Yar, next day. Other species followed quickly. None of them wanted to face what the Valak had faced. On Earth, Taemin returned to Dr. Yonwoo Han. She held him close and cried with relief. "The whole galaxy is talking about you," she said. "They're calling it the Battle of One." "Good," Taemin said. "Maybe now they'll leave us alone." But across the stars, in the dark spaces between worlds, alien races whispered new rules to their young. Never fight a human alone. Never corner a human with nowhere to run. Never underestimate what a human will do to survive. The age of humanity had begun, and it had started with one man, one canyon, and 10,000 mistakes. The legend was born.